welcome to another episode of SL24 I am here with University of Delaware Rising Senior and Peer24 Specialist Lauren Bailey, who goes by the name Bailey here at Sean's house. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Glad to hear it. So we're gonna jump right into it. We have 7 questions for you, and yeah, let's start with question number 1. Question number 1 is gonna be, who are you?
I am from Indiana. I've grown up in the Midwest, and then I came to UD for college. I studied neuroscience and psychology. Um, Hoping to do some sort of counseling afterwards, get my master's in something. Still figuring that part out. And I love to be outside and connect with people. I'm a big yapper. I love adventure. I'm always down to do whatever. So, just like new experiences.
Love it. You are from the lovely state of Indiana. I know we've talked about that a little bit, but what was it like growing up there, and what brought you to Delaware?
Um, it was it was kind of a difficult time for me sometimes, but all of those aspects were fantastic. There's a great sense of community there, I would say, just because it's small towns, everyone's looking out for each other. It's really beautiful in that way, but also it's kind of that Midwestern mindset. People are not exposed to lots of different types of people. Most people from the Midwest are from the Midwest, or that live in the Midwest are from the Midwest. So it was not always the most open-minded place, but I kind of just wanted to come here to experience something new and try to find people that were a little more like-minded to myself and just kind of see the rest of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you're big on nature. What does Indiana offer that Delaware might not, and vice versa?
I'd say a big one is the stars. The stars are way better in Indiana because there's just a lot less light.
Uh-huh.
So even in my backyard, it's better than sometimes like the woods around here. That's the biggest one.
Gotcha. And does Delaware offer anything that Indiana does not have?
The beach for sure.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
That,
Indiana's landlocked. So.
that is a good answer. Didn't even think of that one. We get spoiled sometimes. If there is one moment or event in your life that made you into the person you are, what would it be?
Oh, that's a difficult one.
I'm digging deep.
um, I would say honestly, I not to like flex this, but I was valedictorian of my high school, and I pushed myself so hard to do that. And then I was sitting there at graduation, and I was not that happy about it. I was like, wow, not worth. And I think it kind of pushed me to value what I truly value, and not just like prestige and titles and
Wow.
competition.
Yeah, I did not know that about you. That's incredible. Congratulations. But
Thanks.
I could see why that, you're pushing yourself for the wrong reasons. Sometimes the end of the rainbow isn't so
No, yeah.
yeah. All right, we will move on to question number 2.
Oh yeah.
What has been a lock in your life? So a lock is gonna be something that is like stopped you in your tracks, locked you up a bit, meaning that just a hard moment or something that you've struggled with.
Um, Kind of going back to why I wasn't like didn't want to stay in Indiana, is that I'm queer and I grew up in a town that wasn't very okay with that. Um, and that was just always I think I had to hide that part of myself, and with that I hid a lot more because it was just easier to hide all of it at once. Um, and I think I'm still learning to not hide any of myself because it was just so easy and so kind of necessary in my town. So I think just not being able to like express like my queerness and not being able to like really express myself at home and everything that I believe in was really has really like been a weight because I still call Indiana home and it's great, but those that heaviness and like inability to fully express myself still exists when I'm home.
Yeah, that's a really difficult situation, especially like as a young teenager or a young adult. So I would say that's a pretty major lock. Was there anything or anyone that helped you to get to the other side of that, or was it leaving that made you realize like you could truly like express yourself?
I had a few. I had two really. I had this really great friend group, like little three-person friend group, when I was in high school, and we all kind of allowed ourselves to express each other, or well, allowed ourselves to express who we were to each other, and I think that group really helped me get through high school. And then coming here was what really like I think allowed me to fully get past it. But they were a little bit. They were a light in that like darkness, but yeah, a little spark at least.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad going to college, I think for a lot of young people can be like an awakening to what they were missing in their hometown or what they were missing in high school. So I'm glad that you found that here at the university.
For sure. Me
Yeah.
too.
We'll move on to question number 3. Who or what has been a lighthouse for you in your mental health journey? Could be people, could be a hobby, could be a musician, anything.
Probably gonna talk about this again, but I talked about it earlier. But just going outside and being like in the woods or somewhere like somewhere green or somewhere with flowing water, those two, because it really just first kind of makes you move your body. I think that exercise really helps me just be like make like feel more in touch with my body and feel health even when my mental health feels terrible. At least I can feel healthy in some way. And then also just it's a pause, like listening to all the sounds, and seeing all the things is very grounding. So I think just taking time for myself, being in nature, appreciating all the things that I naturally love about it was really pulls me out of those terribly like dark days.
Yeah, I was actually reading a book. It's called Blue Mind, and it goes over the psychology of being around moving water and what it does to our brains. And it
Oh,
actually, hearing and seeing moving water actually releases endorphins,
oh,
which is exactly what you're describing right there.
oh, that's fascinating. I didn't know
Yeah, so huge water girl over here too. Um, have you always been that way? You've been always been a little kid running around outside, or
that. Yeah, I'd say
yeah,
so. I think I do a little more intentionally now. I think before I was just like playing with my friends or
yeah,
whatever, but now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go out and take care of myself in a little more different way.
yeah? And you mentioned your friend group back home, so it sounds like they were a little bit of a lighthouse for you in a dark time. Um, is there anything specific that they did for you that helped you throughout your journey, or was it just giving you that place to be yourself and to be like safe?
I think overall it really was just that they gave me the place. But it wasn't even just that they held space for me to do that. They also encouraged it, like they really complimented and appreciated the traits that I was afraid to show people. I think that some of what they liked about me the most were those things I was so afraid to like open up about, or what they were we connected was that. So it was kind of just a perfect hold space, but also the encouragement.
Yeah, I'm glad they did that because now we have the Bailey that we know and love.
Me too.
Okay, well, we'll move on to question number 4. Thank you. All right, so question number 4. If there was one piece of knowledge or wisdom you would want someone struggling with mental health to know, what would it be?
I think I would say that there's not like when you're trying to get help and help yourself, that there's not a one size fits all solution. So I guess what I mean is what works for one person to help them in their mental health journey isn't gonna work for like necessarily myself, others. I think in the past for me, I had a lot of discouragement where I would see people use a certain strategy for themselves, or they would tell me that this is how I should help myself, and it just didn't work. And it was really discouraging and made me feel hopeless because um, I just thought, man, if this solution that worked great for them, what hope do I have that I'm ever going to improve? And I've heard that from other people, or um, that maybe they tried this therapist and someone else loved them and it doesn't work for them, or this med and it doesn't work for them. I think that really pushes people away from working on their mental health. Um, but we're all different, and all of the solutions we have are different. I think it's really just about finding what works for you and being confident in knowing what works for you, because there's also a lot of pressure to not, I don't know, to like, in my past, I've had friends be like, oh, you like that med or you like that therapist? What are you talking about? And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, we're all different. This can work for me, and I don't need, and we don't need to all be the same. It's probably better that we're not. I don't know.
The knowledge of like meeting yourself and being able to meet yourself like where you're at is a really important part of the process, because if you become like impatient with yourself, then there's sort of like this anger and there's like resentment towards yourself, and like that's not going to help anybody in any situation.
No.
Is there any specific way that you try to pass that wisdom on if a friend comes to you and is struggling, or if you're offering peer support?
Yeah, I definitely do try to pass it along. Um, and in like sessions, for example, I'll try to, we kind of try to we use our own lived experiences to help others. So I'll talk about what strategies have worked for me. But I try to emphasize to them that this strategy doesn't have to work for them. It might not, and I
Mhm.
try to talk about things that I can't necessarily um talk about my experience with, but that I know work for some people, and I kind of try to give options, and same with just friends too. Just because one option might not be the solution,
Yeah.
so try to keep all the doors open for how to help yourself.
Yeah, I think a big one that comes to mind right away is breathing. For some people, like doing like breathing exercises can calm them down, and for other people it actually makes them stress out even more because it's like they're focusing on the problem. Like,
Right.
so some people would like better use distraction in like a situation like that. Um, but yeah, totally. Is there one piece of advice you would give to your younger self that you think she needed to hear back in Indiana?
Yeah, I think I would say that like I would want to tell her that you helping yourself is not you, or you sticking up for yourself and helping yourself is not you hurting other people. I think I really was, and still am in some circumstances. I'm really afraid of hurting other people. I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but sometimes to make yourself safe, you have to say hard things to people. And obviously, there's right ways to say the hard things to people that make it less harmful, but I think really just setting that boundary of this is what I need, and you aren't necessarily helping me reach that need, that has been really important for me, like to heal and to surround myself with the, I guess, like love and care that I want and need.
Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error that comes with working on your mental health and working on self-improvement. And yeah, what works for one person, I agree, will not always work for another, and that's completely okay. And we shouldn't shame people for that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you pass this wisdom on, whether it be through peer sessions, through a friend who's struggling, anything like that, or do you try to pass it along?
I think I just try to remind people that like there's so little out there that gets done instantly anyway. Like so much good, so much bad, like so much takes time, which is not fun sometimes, but I think it relieves the pressure as well that it doesn't all have to happen right now. So I try to remind people really that other good things they've done in the past weren't instant, and this one doesn't have to be either. It doesn't mean it won't come, because it often does. Everything comes along eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Was there like a specific moment or time when you needed to like remind yourself of that? And what was it?
Um, I think there's been times in the past where I had habits that I wasn't proud of. Like even just the way I talk to myself. Like I've been trying to not say that I can't. I'm trying to avoid saying I can't do that,
Mhm.
or like some activity, or I'm not that person. Like I'm trying to stop barring myself from taking on like new labels, I guess, like new skills. Um, And I wanted, as soon as I realized I did that all the time, I wanted to be like cut that out completely, like, and it was like, no, we can't do that tomorrow, like, but I realized, like, it just doesn't work like that if it's a habit, and it can be broken. And if I say one less time to myself today as I do tomorrow, then that's great. That's progress. And a month from now, it'll probably be pretty good. And that's just the beauty of time, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I read somewhere that for every one negative thing you say about yourself, you notice it and you say three positive things.
Huh.
And it's really difficult, but it like kind of helps you to like rewire that part of your brain that's like the negative self-talk and everything that comes along with that. So we'll move on to the following question, which is, how do you cultivate resilience in the face of mental health challenges? Is it something that can be developed or is it innate? Is it something we're born with?
I think I try to cultivate resilience just by not losing track or not forgetting about all the things that I've accomplished in the past and what those challenges were as well. I think, like, for me, like in like depressive moments or depressive episodes, I very much don't think about what I have accomplished. It's just hopelessness, and reminding myself of like my past trials really just makes me feel so much stronger. And I think it certainly can be developed. I like to think that most traits like that can be developed. I think that, I mean, some people might have a little bit of a head start, but that doesn't mean you can't put in work to like recognize how to push yourself and how you have pushed yourself in the past and how to motivate. I think, I mean, that's kind of the point of trial, not the point of trials, but the benefit of trials is that you get through them and you get to use those skills for next time.
Yeah, definitely. So you said you're a big person on the outdoors. Do you go on a lot of hikes?
I go on some hikes. I want to go on more, but I definitely hike around a little bit.
Gotcha. So no like 10-mile treks?
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, exactly. I think the comparison of mental health being like a hike or like you're climbing to the summit can sometimes be true. And I don't know, it's that mental toughness that's required for anything like physically demanding, like really can come in handy for mental health trials and tribulations, like you said. So our next question, question number 7, comes from our last podcast guest, Carolyn Olsch. You know Carolyn.
I do know Carolyn. Well,
She says, what is one goal or characteristic you're currently working on within yourself that is also impacting someone else in a positive way?
oh, that's a cute question. Whew.
Yeah, it's deep too.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Well, I think that every characteristic that we work on within ourselves, as long as it's a positive one, impacts the people closest to us.
for sure.
Are you working on any goals currently?
Um, right now, I mean, I'm trying to say no less. I kind of touched on it before, but I don't want to limit myself. I think I am very afraid of being bad at things. Um, and I would just not try things because I didn't want to look silly,
Yeah,
and that is not good for growth, you know? Because
yeah,
sometimes you just have to look silly, and there's nothing wrong with it. Because it's how are you supposed to know how to do something you've never done before? And I would just say no, I'm not good at that, or I'm not that, and would never become it. I would never improve on it.
yeah. I think the fun thing about starting new things or starting new hobbies is like you do look oftentimes very silly
Right.
in the beginning. Um, but you know, 3, 6 months to a year later, you can look back at that and it's just like a testimony to your growth. Like, okay, like remember that one time I tried XYZ and like now look at me.
Right.
If you go out and try to go for a mile run and then you end up running a marathon in a year. It's like, okay, well, I've come a long way.
Right. No,
Like,
it's huge. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's I think that mindset of me trying things has also made me want to encourage my friends and people around me to try new things. So I think that's probably how I would say this like work has positively impacted people because now I'm like, oh, you want to come do this cool thing with me? Or also kind of calling people out and like gently calling people out. Like if someone's like, no, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, no, guess what? We get to learn together. Or like, you can go, you got that. So I think I've just tried to like, by encouraging myself and through I've like encouraged others and also encouraging others has made me kind of um solidify that mindset in myself. I'm like if they can do it, I can do it and vice versa type of thing.
Yeah, I think that you encouraging the people around you is just like a testimony of like who you are and who you are in this space. Um, you're always supportive and positive and just willing to help people. So we appreciate you being on the podcast today.
Happy to
Um,
be here. Thank
yeah,
you.
it's been incredible speaking with you, and we will see you guys next time.